Thank you for joining me in God's house. You could always tell when we're in God's house with the bright lights and the big stage. We all know how Jesus loves a good performance. Today we will be reading from the book of Charlie's Widow. It's a biblical questioning on odd behavior from a widow. There's no way accusing anybody of any wrongdoing, just a questioning of real odd behavior. Let us begin. Chapter 1, the transfer. And a man named Charlie was killed, and the man had a following, and that following was loyal, and that following was large, and that following was, in the language of the machine, monetizable. And within hours of Charlie's death, the question that the bullshit machine had asked was not what happened. The question that the machine asked was, who inherits the audience? For a following is an asset, and an asset upon death of its holder must transfer somewheres, and the transfer must happen quickly before the grief cools and the audience begins to think for itself. And the widow stepped forward, and the widow said, I will carry the mission. I will continue the work. The movement will not die like my husband just did. And the people wept, and the people cheered, and the people transferred their loyalty from the dead to the living without examining whether the living had earned it. For the machine does not require qualification. The machine requires proximity to the body. And hear this clearly, for it is the mechanism that makes the rest of this chapter possible. Selah. Loyalty to a leader is personal. It was earned over time, through words, through actions, through risk. The leader built the thing. The people followed because the leader demonstrated something worth following. Loyalty to a widow? Now that's emotional. It was not earned. It was inherited. And the inheritance happened not because the widow demonstrated anything, but because the audience's grief needed somewhere to go. Grief that has nowhere to go becomes loyalty to whoever is standing nearest the casket. The machine knows this. The bullshit machine has always known this. Selah. Chapter 2, the shield. And the widow became untouchable, not because she was above criticism, but because the criticism of a widow is socially not acceptable. A man who questions the widow's motives is called heartless. It's a man with no heart. A woman who questions the widow's behavior is called jealous. Everybody's looking at you, Candace. And a journalist who examines the widow's decisions is called disrespectful. For the dead man is the shield. And the shield works because the audience's compassion makes that shield impenetrable. No one can say, wait, how in the Sam hell is she qualified? Because the machine has already reframed qualification as irrelevant. The qualification is the love. Qualification is the loss. The qualification is that wedding ring and the funeral and the tears that were seen on camera. And once grief is the credential, competence becomes optional. Selah. And notice who benefits from this arrangement. The widow receives the platform, the organization, the revenue streams, the political access, the media invitations, and the social capital that the dead man spent his life building. And anyone who points this out is not arguing with a person. They're arguing with a corpse. And that corpse always wins, because the corpse cannot be cross-examined. and the audience will not permit it. The grief shield is the most efficient authority transfer mechanism the bullshit machine has ever produced. It requires no vote, no review, no qualification, just a funeral and a microphone. Chapter 3, the performance. And now here the part that people feel but cannot say. There is a script for grief. The machine wrote it. The audience knows it. And the audience is watching very carefully to see if the widow follows it. The script says, be devastated but composed. Weep but not too much. Speak of the dead with reverence. Wear dark colors. Appear diminished. Decline attention. Let the loss consume thee visibly but elegantly. And when the widow follows the script, the audience is satisfied. The performance matches the expectation, and the bullshit machine hums along. Salah. But when the widow does not follow the script, when she laughs too soon, speaks too confidently, or wears something that does not communicate devastation, assumes a position of power with the speed that suggests the position was the point, the audience feels something. And the feeling is, this does not match. And the bullshit machine's response is immediate. How dare you judge a grieving woman? Everyone grieves differently. Thou does not know what she's going through. And although this may be true, everyone does grieve differently, and thou dost not know exactly what she is going through. But hear this also, the fact that grief is private does not mean behavior is exempt from observation. And the bullshit machine knows that, which is why it deploys the grief defense so quickly. The speed of the defense is the tell. Salah. For if the behavior is genuine, the defense is unnecessary. Genuine grief does not require a press strategy. And if the behavior is strategic, the defense is essential. Because the strategy, dressed as grief, must never be seen clearly. The machine uses everyone grieves differently the same way it uses for the greater good as a universal solvent for accountability. Salah. And that'll do it for chapters 1 through 3 from the book of the Grieving Widow, from Charlie's Widow, from the book of Inheritance, the book of Erica. Shit, man, the book of anything, the book of Grifted. Join me tomorrow when we read chapters 4, 5, and 6. Let's make sure we can get all of it. Yeah, we can get all of it. 4, 5, and 6 of the book of Charlie's Widow. And if you want to read this for yourself, why don't you go head on over to bullshitmachine.net and go on under posting videos. It should be the first one there unless I post something else after it. There's no ads or nothing. Just clean reading. So head on over to bullshitmachine.net and make sure you don't go to bullshitmachine.com because that'll take you to godforsaken Fox motherfucking News. And we all know that nobody should have to go to Fox News. They might try and sell you their G.I. Jesus and their Christianity. Anyway, thanks for joining me and we'll see you next time.